So let's see if KSI or Jake Paul still want to fight Tommy Fury.
I think it's worth.
Okay.
Nah, it's just not worth it. Like, I think he had a fight in
Budapest.
Yeah, bro, no one cared. It was just really sad. Yeah, and then he was calling out Jake Paul, and I'm like, I swear he comfortably beat Jake Paul.
Yeah, he did.
Okay, I disagree with this. I do not think he comfortably beat Jake Paul, but I'd like to know what you guys think in the comments. I only say this because if you guys remember watching the Jake Paul and Tommy Fury fight, at the end, when he knocked him down, all three announcers said that Jake Paul did enough to win. So that's what I'm saying right there.
Would he beat Jake Paul?
So
Yeah.
I would like, what are you doing? He seems a bit lost. No one really knows what he's doing.
I do want to make the rematch happen, and I definitely know that I'm going to destroy him, knock him out. Based off of his last fight, he hasn't gotten any better, whereas I've had 2.5 years more of experience.
But now we're going to cover some more relevant topics, but first, let's look at Chavez Jr. knocking out his sparring opponent. I know, I'm shocked too.
Hey! Hey!
Okay, and let's not forget, Jake was about to get a shot at the belt. Remember Badou Jack and how that fight after Chavez might be landing? Well, it's not anymore, and I'm about to tell you why and a couple different reasons, couple different posts, but this is kind of the main reason. I'm going to try to show you this. This was, their first fight, Michaelian, I think his name is. But a lot of people say that he won the fight and he protested, and the WBO or whoever said that it's an automatic rematch. They got to fight again. So that puts the Jake Paul fight on the back burner. But just if I play this a little bit, let's see. Hopefully it doesn't get copyrighted, but let's see what you think from the highlights.
You see the measurables. Michaelian taller than Badou.
Good luck. Change, management. That's what good fighter he is.
It looks like it was a good back and forth fight. I really don't know. I'd have to watch it all. But if you guys did, let me know in the comments who you think won.
Would suggest. Nice right hand again there from Jack. And he has Michaelian on the run.
Okay, now that we know Jake will not be fighting Badou Jack after this, we're going to see what he's thinking about and how he thinks Chavez Jr. is going down. If it's going to be easy, going to be hard. I think we all know Jake's going to win, but then again, you never know, right? You never know.
I'm feeling better than ever. This is going to be my breakout performance. It's going to be a tough fight, Someone's going to get embarrassed, and it's not going to be me, but I'm training harder than ever. I know this is my toughest opponent yet. Maybe not the biggest name opponent yet, but it's still going to be a super, super good fight. So make sure everyone pull up Anaheim, California, Ticketmaster.com. Be there, baby.
I was going to say that, do you think this is the toughest opponent? Obviously, he's still a guy who was, he's not all that old. He's got a ton of fights. He's got, I think, 61 pro fights. Think this is the toughest challenge for you if you take everything into consideration?
Yeah, taking everything into consideration and how hard he's training behind the scenes, people saying that this is the most serious he's ever taken a fight, and the fact that he's a former world champion, 30-something knockouts, and I think he wants to put Mexico on his back and represent, and he doesn't want to lose to a guy like me because he knows that's going to hurt his legacy that he's built for himself.
Yeah, I was going to say, Jake, if you see video of him, it looks like he's training hard. I think if there's one criticism, obviously, as you know, of his that people have always said is that, hey, he doesn't train hard, doesn't work as hard as he should, but he's a guy with a lot of talent. But if he is working hard and he does still have that talent, obviously, that could make for a dangerous opponent, couldn't it?
Yeah, 100%. And that's what I bring out of my opponents. Even when I fly sparring partners in, they go harder than they normally do with other guys because they want to prove a point because it's me. They don't want to get beat up by a guy who's only been doing this for 5 years or so. So they always bring their A game, and that's why I'm always at my best as well because I have to bring my A game every time.
Yeah, that's interesting. So you actually get the best of your opponents because whether it's right, your background or you've not been in the sport that long, people don't want to lose to you, right? And because of
Exactly.
that, they work hard.
Yeah, and it's their biggest payday,
Yeah.
most of the time.
I mean, Jake is right. He is the biggest payday right now for like any boxer other than maybe Canelo, right? Or Mayweather. But I'm just curious in the comments, how long do you think Jake Paul is going to continue boxing? Do you think like 26 is going to be it? Or do you see him doing this longer?
So they're motivated by a lot of things, not losing money, all the hype around it, the press, the media. So everyone always wants to beat me.
How about coming off of the Tyson fight and literally fighting in front of 108 million people? That's the biggest audience ever. How about coming off of what was just a massive event? And obviously, this is a little bit of a different setup. It's not on Netflix, but just how about coming off of what was the most watched fight in the history of this sport?
Yeah, it's surreal. It's honestly hilarious to me, but like me and Mike are the two most followed boxers in the sport. So it makes sense, and it was such a surreal moment. I believe there's going to be more massive fights to come on Netflix. So stay tuned for some things there. But yeah, this is my main goal is to become world champion. So doing all the big fights like that is awesome. But my main goal is to become world champion, and Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. puts me on a path to that.
I think we asked you about this a couple weeks ago. Our guy at the press event, Julio said that he was doing this to get some sort of like revenge for Mike Tyson. I know you and Mike are cool. There's no bad blood there, and Mike made a ton of money. What do you think when you hear him say that he is doing this for Mike Tyson?
I think he's just a dumb boxer, like trying to protect the sport. There's no revenge needed for Mike. It was a successful night, the most
Right.
watched boxing event ever. Mike made a ton of money, and he did good in the fight.
Yeah.
So Chavez is just trying to get fans to get behind him to be like, oh yeah, he's gonna get him for Mike, and it's
Yeah.
just gonna completely fail.
The June 28th event, Jake, you've got Holly Holm. Obviously, Holly, before a lot of people became familiar with her in the UFC, she was a very accomplished boxer. I think she is just another one of and tell me if I'm wrong here, another one of these female boxers who are putting on a big platform, giving a stage to. Is that something that you are cognizant of? We know what you've done for Amanda Serrano's career. You've taken that to heights that she probably never could have imagined. And now I think perhaps doing the same with Holly Holm.
Yeah, no, 100%. That's always been the goal with Amanda Serrano. As a visionary, I've just saw the gaps in boxing and where it needs a ton of work and help. And women's boxing was one of the biggest, and we proved that with Amanda Serrano and how entertaining her fights are. And now we've gone after all of the women basically in the sport, and MVP has signed the majority of the top pound for pound fighters out there. And Holly Holm is a superstar, and a lot of people don't know she was a boxing champion. So she wants to get back into it and become world champion again.
I mean, you do have to give props to Jake for all the women fighters that he's elevated and that he continues to elevate. I mean, nobody knew who Amanda Serrano was, 6, 7 years ago. And now she's making a couple $1 million a fight. And she's an awesome person. And, she's actually really cool. I'd like to meet her. But all the newcomers that are coming up right now, it seems like everybody but Clarissa Shields likes them. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know. I wonder how big this is going to get. I think, could you imagine in like 2050, Jake Paul is running the biggest boxing organization in the world? I think we're going to see it.
And maybe even fight Amanda Serrano. So there's just a lot of excitement going on in the MVP women's roster, and it's an awesome time to be a woman in the sport of boxing.
Have you had women? I'm sure you have. Have you had women stars in this sport that have reached out and said, "Hey, Jake, like, is there some business to be done between us?"
No, for sure. And we've signed 5 out of the top 10 pound for pound women's fighters already, and I think there's more on that list reaching out. So we'll see.
Would you sign Clarissa Shields? I know she's had some things to say over the years about you. Would you sign Clarissa?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'd be open to the discussion. For me, like, I don't hold grudges. Business is business. I find some of like what she says entertaining. I love shit talk as well.
No.
And we can make some super fights with Clarissa Shields, honestly. And we have some of the biggest names of people on our roster that she would be able to fight. So it could make sense.
Absolutely. Real quick, Paul American, what was the reception? Did you have fun kind of getting back into that world with the cameras following you around? It seems like the fans really dug it and enjoyed the show. Did you like it? And what are the prospects going forward for Paul American?
Yeah, no, I definitely liked it. I think doing a first season of anything is really challenging because you don't know what you're going to create and there's all these question marks. And so we learned a lot along the way. And I think moving forward, the show can get even better. And I was definitely surprised by the fan love. Like people really, really loved the show and all the characters involved. And I guess that was really awesome to see just because you're always nervous putting on a show. Like people could hate it or be like, oh, we already knew all of these things.
Right.
But it turns out people really got to see a different side of us and really enjoyed it.
And you had some big moments on there with like, you know, Logan and Nina and the baby, your engagement. There was a lot of big things that happened.
Yeah, no, I mean, family feuds, fights.
You got it all.
My dad's like the star of the show somehow. And injuries right before the Tyson fight. Like there's all this cool stuff in there.